Hey, Knicks fans, thanks for tuning in to another Knicks Nation podcast. The New York Knicks have lost 2 straight games and now have the luxury of not hopping on an airplane for the next month. Bunch of home games coming up. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the bench.
Let's run that intro.
They're playing basketball. Basketball.
You're listening to the Knicks Nation podcast, where we've got all your Knicks needs covered.
Puts up a three. Bang! Bang! He ties the game!
Now, live from the city that never sleeps, here are your hosts, Anthony and Chris.
What's going on, Knicks Nation? Thank you for tuning in to another Knicks Nation podcast. This is episode 94 of the Knicks Nation podcast. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, please hit that follow button. Leave us a rating. Really helps out on that end. If you're watching on YouTube right now, really appreciate you. Again, thank you for giving us your time. And let's talk some Knicks. So, the Knicks, losers of 2 straight, Chris, after winning 9 straight, back-to-back seasons of, I think, winning 9 straight and maybe 4 seasons in a row. But it's always been capped off at 9 games. We can't get over the hump. We can't get to that 10th win, right? We can't get to that 10th win.
That elusive 10th win.
Yeah. OKC, tough game down in OKC. Dead legs in the 4th. Then you come to Chicago. Derrick Rose, retirement ceremony. Shout out to D Rose. And you look good for what? 2.5 quarters? You look okay for 2.5 quarters. And then you simply just lay an egg. Chris, you know I do post games. Knicks fans are pissed. Some want Tom Thibodeau gone. Some want him to play more guys. There's a lot going on. Congestion prices are in New York City. So people are pissed off in New York right now. So what's going on, Chris? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I could be better. Look, going back to the OKC game, I was like, wow, this is amazing basketball. You know, that was a game that was competitive from the beginning to the end. The Knicks had their chances to win that game, but look, some sloppy play, especially starting the third. Whatever. Knicks lost that game. I wasn't even mad. I was like, that game was amazing. It showed that we can hang with one of the best teams, if not, what people are calling the best and deepest team in the NBA at this moment, right? Then you got the game against the Bulls. And look, another situation where the Knicks have the lead going into the second half of the game, and they just completely fall flat on their face. So I get it. I get exactly why Knicks fans are upset. It's just weird, man, to play so well. And whether you want to say it's due to being a back-to-back or something like that, or the D Rose ceremony, I'm sorry, man. When you have the lead at the half against a Bulls team, you got to go out and get that win, in my opinion. You cannot just come out and be that flat.
They had their worst quarter of the season in the third quarter versus Chicago. They gave up 41 points, and they only scored 17 points. I couldn't believe what I was watching, Chris.
Yeah.
And, looking back at the tape, they hit some tough shots, man. I mean, just Kobe White was 9 of 11 from 3. It's flamethrower, man. It's like some 2K stuff, NBA Jam stuff. When the ball's red hot, going through the hoop. That's
on fire.
On fire. That was the Chicago Bulls. And pick and rolls were, again, killing the Knicks. And you brought up the back-to-back aspect. Look, if you want to be a dominant team in this league, look, I still do think the Knicks are a dominant team in this league. But OKC was on a back-to-back when we played them. And for 3 quarters, it looked like the Knicks, had that game in the bag. But 4th quarter came around, and look, OKC just beat Boston, and they just beat the Knicks. So they're not a team to be messed with. And whether you want to say that kind of, I don't know, whether you want to say that, look, they're an elite team. They look at they're beating us, they're beating Boston, they're beating everyone. They've won so many games in a row. Whether you want to justify us losing that game, but I don't, Chris. Bulls game was rough. It was. And I guess we could touch on the injury update. So Cat at the end of that Bulls game, Chris, was limping. And Bondi came out today saying that Karl Anthony Towns avoided major injury. So we'd love to see that. We'd love to hear that. And after the game, Cat said, quote, "I'm sweating." He said when asked how he's feeling, he said, quote, "I'm exhausted." That's not back-to-back games where Karl Anthony Towns is saying I'm exhausted in quotes. And so he is listed to have patellar tendinopathy, jumper's knee, in his right knee. It's an injury to the tissue connecting the kneecap to the shin bone. So he says he's okay. I think he's questionable against the Magic, who we play for the 50th time this year. But he avoided major injury, so that's good. So Cat injury, he's good. He's okay. He's healthy. I thought Thibs should have pulled the starters late in that fourth quarter earlier. But I guess that translates. I guess that we can lead into the bench issue. Why most of you guys are joining us tonight. And it's the elephant in the room, right? I mean, the next bench, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, look, when it came to the game versus the Bulls, it was the bench players that sparked this team to that comeback. Obviously, Cat was involved in that, as well as Mikal Bridges. Those are the guys that got you back into this game. And then, no surprise, starters come back in, and the game is basically lost. The flow, all that energy that you had with the bench unit was just gone. So that's what a lot of people want to, that are harping on at this point. Why doesn't Tom Thibodeau play the bench more? Granted, I believe we're still without Deuce at this moment, but you got guys like Campaign that was playing well versus the Bulls. You got Landry Shamet out there. Why aren't these guys seeing more time on the floor? Why are our starters still playing 40-plus minutes? I think that's a question that a lot of Knicks fans have at this moment.
Yeah, obviously the question was magnified when the Knicks, all five starters, played over 40 minutes in the OKC game. And then you have a back-to-back in Chicago. Josh Hart played 40 minutes in that game as well. Shaman has been playing more, and we have some defensive stats that, pretty much dictate that when he's on the court, he's pretty solid defensively. Sneaky defender. I think when LV and I were doing a recap, he brought up some that Shamit's a sneaky defender, good defender. But he's been playing more, and you love to see that because dealing with that injury, shoulder injury, you love to see him, get back on track. But Chris, this is a very touchy subject, as you know. Most Knicks fans. The thing about and as my camera goes out, the thing about the depth, right? Let me get my camera situated, Chris. Just talk for a second about the depth.
So yeah, I think overall, personally, what I would like to see out of the bench is literally more playing time for some of the guys off of the bench. Again, I keep saying this, I keep sounding like a broken record. I want the starters to rest a little bit more. And in games where they don't got it, kind of similar to what we saw with the Bulls, why doesn't Tibbs simply let the bench unit close out that game, right? They had it going with Cat, with Mikal Bridges out there. Why not let them just close out that game, see how it goes? I get it. Game got close. I think we cut it down to 6 points. And then the starters basically, came back in, but the lack of energy just killed us. And that was all she wrote. So, I would like to see more from the bench. I still think maybe we need another piece from that bench unit.
Yeah.
But, I think that's my biggest gripe so far.
Is the bench.
with the bench.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my camera situation right now. But look, I'm gonna be talking for the next 5 minutes without a camera. But yeah, Chris, it's we got a poll in the YouTube chat that's it says, do the Knicks presently constituted have enough to compete with OKC's Boston's of the NBA? Yes, they have enough. No, they need more bench depth. Not with this coach. And let's wait until Mitchell Robinson comes back. And 50% of the vote, 32 votes so far, say no, they need more bench depth. And I made a video today, Chris, pretty much saying that I'm not really ready to say that the Knicks don't have a bad bench, because if you're not going to play the Rooks, if you're not going to play Hook, if you're not going to play Daddy, if you're not going to play Tyler Kolek consistently, right? Yeah. How would we know? It's now almost halfway through the season. How would we know if they can provide value right now, right? How will we know that? So I just want Thibs to just – I know he's stuck in his own way. I know. He's stubborn. He is stubborn. He trusts who we trust. He does. But especially in a back-to-back, it's clear that he doesn't trust his rookies. It's clear. So right now, that's my whole stance on it, Chris. And yeah.
I guess the way I look at it, though, I feel like Tibbs. That's
Give me
one thing.
5 minutes, Chris. Answer some comments too. Give me like 5 minutes. All right.
I wish that's one thing Tibbs would change. Simply just look. We gotta play more guys. Let our starters get some rest. And you see OKC do it, right? OKC is throwing out multiple guys out there. It's not just an 8-man, 9-man, or even a 10-man rotation. But again, granted, they have more bench depth than we do, so I get that. But then you got a team like the Bulls, again, also throwing multiple guys out there. I just feel, look, I don't want to harp too much on it because, I think I just saw in the chat, we're still third. We're third seed at this moment. So I don't want to complain too much about it. But man, it's just tough to lose the way we did to a Bulls team, especially after we played so well against Oklahoma. So yeah, let's see what we got going on here on the chat.
All right, camera's starting to get up and running, but I see you guys in the chat. Appreciate every single one of you guys in the chat. And just put a still picture of yourself for now. This Rower says in the chat. Look, camera, technical difficulties on this Sunday evening, but we getting there. We getting there. Unc Dre, what's going on? Says it's annoying seeing these other teams actually develop their bench players in real games. Thibs are not giving others opportunities. It's not a good look.
Yeah, that sums up basically how I feel. You're seeing these other teams, they're going into their bench, they're trusting their youth, just for a few minutes here and there. That's what I want to be at with our bench unit as well. Because look, like you mentioned earlier on, second time you have Karl Anthony Towns basically saying, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I need rest, help me, basically.
Yeah.
So, why not throw out Huck Porty out there? Why not throw out, let Precious play a few more minutes? I get it. It's Tibbs. But look, this is another reason why guys, fans out there are saying Tibbs won't take us to the promised land.
Tony says, Ant, you playing with your camera too many minutes. You see what happens. Oh, man. What a contrast. But, yeah, 5 minutes and we up and running. We good. But, yeah, I mean, this was a quote from Tom Thibodeau. We got to take it day by day, game by game, and continue to improve. He also gave the Bulls props. And in that game, Chris, I think the Knicks gave up the most points that they've given up all season. Tom Thibodeau said they can score. They can score with the best of them, but the Bulls don't play like a defense. And, Unc Dre also says no matter how good we look, we cannot survive a 7-man rotation for the rest of the year. And obviously it's been showing. Best starting 5 in the league. Worst bench in the league. That is from Tendrell in the chat. It's true. Knicks have the best starting five in the league, and when you give Tom Thibodeau, when you give him five elite starters that can score at will, defend at a high rate. Josh Hart's having a career year. Had his, didn't score against the Bulls. Jalen Brunson has been in a slump. We got a stat here that Jalen Brunson over his past 6 games, he is shooting 4 of 34 from 3. And I kind of think if he kind of just showed, if he hit like a couple of threes versus OKC, we would have won that game. Bad turnovers in the OKC game, and I guess that's what's frustrating. That's what frustrated Knicks fans in that game, Chris, is JB didn't really show up and Cat didn't get fed in that game. And that was
Yep. That's another issue I've been seeing as of late. It's almost like we end up, as the game progresses, we go away from what got us the lead or what got us to that point where we have a lead and we have a good enough cushion where you're like, all right, we should win this game.
Yeah.
Whether it's sloppy play, like in the third quarter, starting the third quarter against OKC, where we literally had, I think, 3 turnovers back to back and just choked away the lead, or whether it's, again, the Bulls game where we just went away from what was working. There's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. But are you concerned about Jalen Brunson, his 3-point shooting?
It's a little bit of regression that he's hitting right now. I'm not concerned. I'm really not, because he's actually, before this stretch, I mean, the 4 for 34 from 3 over his past 6 games is not good. But he also has been dealing with a calf situation and, lower leg injuries. You really don't want to deal with that. And, calves are really tricky. So hopefully Brunson, he's a freaking warrior. So he's going to play through everything and anything. And I think that has something to do with it, Chris. Calf injuries. Maybe he's not getting lift on his shots. And that's why he's slumping right now. But am I concerned about it? No, I'm not. It's just those turnovers in the 4 versus OKC were rough. And look, versus the Chicago Bulls, I even thought he played okay, but a lot of empty calorie stats for my liking. But it was a defensive end, man. And honestly, Bulls were shooting the lights out, but JB was just scoring at will. And look, Thibs rested Anunoby a lot in that game. Thibs rested his starters more than, he normally does. And you're on a back-to-back, right? So you got to. All right. Let's hit some of these comments. Appreciate every single you guys in here. I'm trying to get my camera back up and running. Right now, you see Chris on the screen. You do not see me. I promise I'm here. I'm still here. Camera's taking, some rest right now. Some rest, Dibs subbed him out. Johnson says, if Thibs keeps this 7-man rotation, Knicks will look very ugly in the playoffs. Simply exhausted and very few healthy players to work. I said it in the video I made, Chris. What's the one thing that the Knicks have been dealing with in these past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Injuries, right?
Injuries.
Injury bug. That's the one thing this Knicks team has been dealing with. And right now, this Knicks starting 5 has been fairly healthy. Knock on wood. You kind of want it to stay that way. Hey, now, I'm back.
You're back.
But yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, the argument, Chris, let's talk this through. Perfect world, who do you want Tom Thibodeau to play, in your opinion? Who do you want him to play on a consistent basis, knowing that you've seen pretty much Hukporti play, you've seen Daddier play in spurts, and you've seen Tyler Kolek? Who do you want to kind of crack the rotation and get it to 9? Because, Chris, OKC, man, I know they're deep, and Isaiah Hartenstein said after the game that they have a deeper team, and they have the luxury of going deep. But could it just be the Knicks they have a bad bench? Could it just be simply that, or do we not know?
I feel like we don't know, man. We don't know what we have on that bench. Obviously Landry Shamet being back, we know what he can provide. Like you said, sneaky good defender. Obviously can stretch the floor, things like that. We know that. We obviously know Deuce McBride, who hasn't been available to us. We know what he brings to the table, and we know what campaign can bring to the table as well. So I feel from that aspect, as far as like, those two guards, you got that covered. But then you got guys like Huck Porty, who has shown some flashes here and there in the limited minutes that he's gotten. A big body who I feel like you could throw out there, maybe save Cat from getting into foul trouble. Again, spot minutes thing, maybe you throw him out there with Precious. Again, another dude, Precious, we know what he can bring. But what about Tyler Kolek? We saw him recently, played well, showed that he can, run the offense and not turn the ball over and just, give you a few quality minutes. I think he played like 10 minutes the past game that he was in. Again, another guy who I feel can go out there and give you some spot minutes when you need it. So the biggest thing is, why not give these guys some run, especially when you got guys saying they're tired? And, it's hard. It's hard when you're seeing other teams do it, even teams like the Bulls that don't specifically have a great bench per se or as deep as OKC.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we do it?
It's an extremely valid question. And the whole thing about that, the easy answer is just the coach, right? Tom Thibodeau just refuses to, deviate from his plan. And look, he normally makes changes. He gives it 20 to 25 games. We've damn near played almost half a season, right? I mean, we're like 5 games from the half season mark, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But I think the guy that kind of needs to be consistently in there could be 2 guys. It depends on the matchup on any given night. But look, Tyler Kolek has impressed me, Chris. He has. He's balling out in the G League, won the MVP showcase. Whether you want to say that's a big deal or not, I truly do think Tyler Kolek has it in him. I do think he's built for his role. And defensively, I know he's not great defensively, but at the same time, his lack of defense could make up for an injury. God forbid that was to happen. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, him playing 5 to 10 minutes a game could prevent an injury. It could. And even Jericho, Chris, he was improving, right? Before he kind of, got sent to the bench. And, he's been in trade rumors and whatnot. But look, it's 2 games. It's a 2-game losing streak, Chris. I know the skies are falling. We're still in a great spot. But it's good to talk about these things because even during the 9-game winning streak, there were still, kind of things you can point at. And these 2 games that the Knicks have lost have been magnifying those things that we've been talking about. So,
well, not only that, the 9-game win streak, and all anybody could say is, hey, the Knicks did not play anybody of worth during that streak, right? That was the lead up. The lead up to the OKC game that's all you heard. So look, I think, going back to your point, Tyler Kolek, I would love to see more of Tyler Kolek, and it can't simply be just about his defense, like you mentioned, it can prevent an injury, having guys rest. But for me, in my opinion, seeing as the defense always seems to become an issue, especially late in these games, you get some rest from Mikal Bridges, whoever it is that you're throwing in there, or even OG Anunoby. That allows them to just recover, get that rest, and then when they hit the floor again, they're energized. They can give that much more effort on defense and not just be dead tired.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing Mikal Bridges, especially the last few games, he's literally playing the entire second half, it seems like. You can't tell me that he is not tired and that's not going to affect them going down, going into the 3rd and 4th quarters of games.
I've kind of watched Mikal's body language too. He looks like he's walking gingerly. He's battling something. I know he's an Iron Man, but hey, I agree. Tony in the chat says, fellas, what I noticed with this Knicks team is the moment we lose the lead or play from behind, the ball movement stops, possessions turn into ISO plays, and it's like we are in a hurry up offense. You wanted to touch on that, Chris?
Well, I'll go back to I'll go back to the OKC game. One thing I did not like towards the end of that game is all of a sudden we went to ISO. We went to an ISO with Jalen Brunson. And look, don't get me wrong. Jalen Brunson's the guy you want with the ball in his hands in crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, I feel like you have this team. You have Karl Anthony Towns. You have Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, obviously Jalen Brunson out there. I don't feel there should ever be a scenario where you just go strictly ISO for the last 6 minutes of a game because you're just making it that much easier for the defense to defend you, in my opinion. I did not like that one bit. That's one area where I say Tibbs has to get more creative. You got to get better offense late in games than just ISO Brunson.
Agree. And Unc Dre says in the chat, there's nothing wrong with putting Tyler Kolek and Hukporti even 7 minutes a game. No excuses, these guys. No excuses. Appreciate every single one of you joining us for another Knicks Nation podcast. Smash the like button. Let's get them likes up. Appreciate you guys joining us on this Sunday evening. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Kind of reset the room a little bit. We opened up this pod pretty much, talking about the 2-game losing streak, how we've gotten here. Knicks have kind of been capped off at 9 games in the past few seasons, and hey, that's a good thing, right? You've had multiple seasons in a row where you've won 9 straight games. I'll sign up for that every year. It's actually an extremely fun time. The 9 games were incredible, but the one thing that everyone has been talking about was now is when the fun starts. Now is when the schedule gets tougher, and the Knicks have started 0-2, right? So
yes,
you kind of were trying to put that talk aside when the Knicks were winning 9 games in a row, but when you lose a tough one in OKC and then you lose to the Chicago Bulls especially, look, you got a bunch of home games that you could take advantage of, and we'll go through the schedule in a second. That's what kind of pisses everyone off, and it kind of is, the reason why we're talking through it with you guys. And once again, we appreciate you guys joining us. Gabriel in the chat says we need Tyler, Ariel, and Pacom to play off the bench for 10 to 15 minutes. Chris, I kind of compared it to like, because if that's the question. Is this Knicks bench bad, or do we just have a coach that refuses to play players off the bench, and that can contribute? Both things could be true, right?
Personally, I think it's the coach, because if you think about who he's playing off that bench. You got a veteran in Campaign, who, again, we all know what he brings, that grit. He can shoot the ball pretty well, too. You got Landry Shamet, again, another vet that has, obviously, chemistry with Campaign, Mikal Bridges, a guy who can stretch the floor. And then you got Deuce McBride, right? And you got Precious Achua. Deuce McBride, a homegrown talent that Tibbs knows what he's going to get. He's earned his spot. And Precious, again, another vet, right? When it comes to Tyler Kolek, when it comes to Ariel Hukporti, when it comes to Pacom Daddier, those guys just are not going to see the floor. No matter, it seems like, what they do right. It's just a big roadblock. It's just Tibbs refuses to send those guys out there, even if they're the only options they got at the time. So I think it's the coach.
It could be both. It really could be, but I agree, man. Look, I know when you look at the Knicks bench, the name value isn't there. It's not. You don't have a Quickly. You don't have an Obi Toppin. You don't have Jalen Williams like OKC has. Aaron Wiggins like OKC has. Deuce is the guy off the bench that we thought coming into this season was going to have a six-man winner type of year, right? And he's been dealing with injuries in and out the lineup. Has kind of been inconsistent, right? But he is our best perimeter defender off that bench, and perimeter defender as a guard off the bench. And when he's out, we miss him, right? Defense takes a hit. There's a reason why Deuce is in the lineups where the Knicks are great defensively. Deuce is a good player, but they don't have like Boston has with a Peyton Pritchard, who we like. I honestly think Deuce is better than Pritchard. It just hasn't we haven't seen that this year. Yeah. So Precious can't really stretch the floor, and you see him parked in the corner at times. He's been attempting threes. He hits them every now and then, but I think versus Oklahoma City Thunder, he hit the side of the backboard, right?
I was just going to say that. He hits them from time to time, and sometimes the side of the backboard.
And Campaign, veteran, but when he's on, he's on. When he's going crazy, he's going crazy. He's talking to himself. He's going crazy. That's the Campaign I like. But has been kind of flaming out here. Thibs has been kind of playing him less and less. The thing I don't understand is if Deuce is out, which he has been the past couple of games, right? You would think this coach would replace that body with someone else. Okay, Deuce is out. How about let's give Kolek 10 minutes?
Yep.
No, he's playing Precious. He's playing Campaign, and he's been playing Shaman. So,
yep.
Look, he's been showing us if he doesn't trust you, he's not going to play you, Chris. And we can come on here and preach and hope that something will give. And that's why some Knicks fans, Chris, not all, that's why some Knicks fans don't think he can bring us to the promised land.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you next. I mean, look, let's just for hypothetical, let's just say the Knicks, this season doesn't go as well as we wanted. Do you think that would put Tibbs on the hot seat? Simply because, his refusal to play younger guys and kind of give these guys some rest, Like Tyler Kolek, again, I would love to see him out there out of all the rookies or I guess young guys that the Knicks have. Mm-hmm. You could pretty much say Tyler Kolek goes out there and doesn't do much wrong out there, deserving a quick yank or, be benched forever or anything like that. When it comes to Tyler Kolek, we've seen a lot more positives than we've seen, negatives when he's been out there on the floor.
Yeah. So
what do you think? Do you think that's something that comes back and bites Tibbs? Because you gotta start wondering, can Tibbs take us to the promised land? I still think he can. But it does get frustrating, again, when you see these teams like the Bulls, like OKC, like even the Utah Jazz playing their younger guys against us and still being in these games competitively. Why can't we do it? Again, it's just, look, I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom, but it's a frustration, that's for sure.
It is a frustration. And look, to someone, I know we probably sound like complainers to like maybe 20% of the people listening. And, we sound like spoiled Knicks fans because we're still third in the Eastern Conference. But our goal is what? A championship, right? We have the best starting five in the NBA, and we have to figure out what's going to take us over the top, what's going to bring us to the promised land. And to answer your question, I think, we're still super early. I think Leon Rose knows that Tom Thibodeau doesn't. He plays like when he went out and got Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic last season at the deadline, you were like, wow, like that's what we needed. We needed a punch like that off the bench. Offense off the bench. But with the Mitchell Robinson situation, it's tricky, man. There's a part of me who thinks that they're just patiently waiting for Mitch to come back and they just want to see how it looks, because they can honestly in the next month, honestly, Chris, bunch of home games. They can reel off 4 or 5 straight. Even though you got some tough opponents coming here, you got Detroit again, Orlando. I'm not sure about Paolo Banchero if he's questionable or not. I know he's on the verge of coming back, but they've lost Jalen Suggs with the back strain. Banchero is on the verge of coming back. So you got the Pistons, the Hawks again, OKC on Friday again. So to answer your question, If it's kind of more the same, if it's kind of like a second round exit, it's a conversation. It's a conversation. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit some of these comments, right? Why don't you say? A lot of frustration in the comments, Chris. I love it though.
Yeah, I mean, look, again,
Adversity
you play
is good.
so well against OKC, and then you throw up that egg against the Bulls. I love where we're at. Don't get me wrong, but obviously, there's some things we got to clean up.
Yuri, what's going on? So you joined the Discord. Yuri says, Precious, Mitch, Landry, Deuce, Cam. Those are the guys Thibs trusts and who he will get to play. Deuce will be healthy once he's out of the hamstring injuries. Yeah, I know Dorkosaurus says he's tired of hearing about the trust thing, but Dorkosaurus, man, it is true. Tom Thibodeau won't play you if he don't trust you, and his leash, right? Short leash. If you don't trust you, you got a short leash. So even though you see Kolek copping off the bench, you're like, oh, you're getting excited, right? Missed defensive assignment.
Out.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And you got to let these guys play through mistakes. That's the only way they learn. But look, when you give that, so that's one side of the spectrum, Chris. The other side is the argument against what we've been talking about. We just have a bad bench. We just don't have anyone off the bench to contribute. And Thibs knows that. Thibs sees that. In practice, they're making a lot of mistakes. And maybe Thibodeau is knocking on Leon Rose's door saying, look, you got to give me somebody at the trading deadline. And maybe that's Mitch coming back. I truly do think Mitch will help a lot. But the way this Knicks team is set up financially is going to be tough to kind of make another deal. So look, option number one, we talked about it. It's Thibs not trusting the rooks and giving them opportunities, right? And then number two is this Knicks bench is bad, right? We could just be blunt and say they're bad.
It could be as well.
Yeah.
Look, I also do think Mitch coming back is going to help. I'm not going to say that's going to be the solution to all our problems per se, but definitely a boost defensively and especially on the boards. But I do think, again, maybe that covers us as far as bigs are concerned. But when it comes to getting us rest for our wings, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, that's kind of where I see the biggest issue. Those guys are the ones that need to rest the most. Those guys are just laying it out on offense and defense, and they're playing heavy minutes, man, especially Mikal Bridges. So could it just simply be that, hey, there's just not good options on our bench and our bench is just terrible? Yeah. But like you said, it's going to be tricky to kind of sign somebody or get somebody when, we're kind of capped as far as money goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard, but if anybody can figure that out, I guess it's Leon Rose, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we just got to wait and see. Still in a good place. Hit some of these comments before we, talk about other things that we wanted to get to. This Rover says Mitch will help because he's probably the only one Thibs will play. Sometimes it's that simple, Chris. Sometimes it's that simple. Because when Mitch comes back, then you have Mitch, Deuce, Precious, Shamet. That's 4, right? That's 4. That's 9.
Yeah.
That's 9 right there, right? But in the meantime, it's 8, right? And when Deuce is out, it's like 7.5, honestly, when Deuce is out. So
it's like 7, basically.
Yeah. Leon has gone above and beyond to give Thibs his types of players. This whole roster was crafted to appease him. If we don't make it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, his job should definitely be on the hot seat. Yeah. Obviously, going back to, I asked Chris, do a lot of Knicks fans want him gone? They don't think that he, as in Tom Thibodeau, can take us to the promised land. And it depends on what happens this year, honestly. But hey, again, you could be looking at this in a broader sense, Chris, this is year one of this core. You can only get better. Maybe this is not the year. I know you don't want to hear that. But in the front office, they have these conversations. They have these blunt conversations. Look, next year we can do this. Next year we can do that. This year, we just have to hope that Mitch comes back and this and that. And that doesn't preclude you from trying to improve and trying to go for it, because you're seeing them be an elite offense. You're seeing them, top 15 in defense. Don't know if the Bulls game dropped them, but which it probably did. You're seeing some regression in terms of three-point shooting and free throws. They're not hitting either one. And that's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
But it's a long NBA season. So
yeah, you said it. Look, it's still early. The Knicks, for all intents and purposes, they're at a great spot. They're at a great spot. Good record overall, way better than what we were seeing earlier on in the season, right? And like you said, this is year one. It's hard. You kind of lose sight of that. This is year one, and obviously year two and even three is going to be even better as this team just gels more and learns how to play with each other. But, it's hard not to get stuck in the moment with what's going on at this moment. And it's hard not to complain, especially when, again, we've seen this Knicks team play at the highest level, both offensively and defensively.
yeah.
And then at the blink of an eye, it goes the other way. So it's tough. It's tough.
Mike Saunders in the chat. Appreciate you in here. Okay, cool. Thibs doesn't like to play rookies. Why not call up TJ Warren and Chuma Okeke? Valid points.
It's true.
All valid points. Angie Wiggins went off again today. Angie Wiggins. Somebody let Thibs know an NBA roster has 15 players unless he somehow can't count that high. Man. Chris, man, you see the flames, man.
Tibbs is catching it, man. Tibbs is catching the heat.
Yeah, he's catching the heat, but I get it, but still third in the East, and if this continues, then it's something to obviously keep dropping to. Amanda says we praise his culture setting, but who would want to be on a team like this? Get all the fault, but no development or playing time. They asked Isaiah Hartenstein after the OKC game about, Thibs and his coaching style, Chris. And Hartenstein brought up that the Knicks don't really practice. So they're playing a lot of minutes, but they're not. When he was here, they don't really push them in practice. They take a lot of days off during the season because they play a lot of minutes. And so they defend him, man. They do. Hart defends him. Brunson has defended him. Hartenstein has defended him. So if the players are defending him, but you're seeing the comments from Kat, the exhaustion comments, I'm exhausted in back-to-back nights, it's kind of like a cry out for help. Maybe. But
maybe we're taking that out of context, right? Maybe he meant just the back-to-back he's exhausted, But
yeah.
It's hard not to. Again, obviously, Tibbs has that stigma attached to him. Players play way too many minutes, so it's hard not to piece two and two together when it comes to that.
All right. Jalen Brunson, 29% over his last 10 games from 3. Jalen Brunson says, this is from last month, excuse me. That's a graphic from last month. This is from Tommy Beer regarding Landry Shamet. In the 54 minutes Landry Shamet has logged this season, small sample size alert, New York is allowing just 87 points per 100 possessions and has posted a net rating of plus 26.8. He was the only Knick to post a positive plus-minus against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris, Landry Shamet has come back, and Thibodeau has played him, and you're seeing the minutes increase, and I love that because I do think he can provide. I want him to be more aggressive on the offensive end. I do. Hit a 3 versus Chicago, but that's when Cam Payne made that boneheaded offensive foul, knocking down, I forgot who it was, but love to see the minutes increase from Shamet. You love it.
Yeah, Landry Shamet, he, he's becoming one of my favorites. I mean,
Yeah.
he goes out there, he grinds, he plays tough, he plays hard, and I think there's more there to unlock with him. Obviously, I know he's a vet, but more minutes should be a good thing, especially when it comes to Shamet.
They should. Landry Shamet's balling out, not really showing in the box score. But look, I've been coming on during the post games and giving him his props because I've been seeing more and more good things from Landry Shamet. All Jabroni says all of our wings are starting. Hart, Bridges, and OG. The reason some of us wanted Precious to start was because it would give us a wing off the bench. We have 3 small guards and Precious off our bench. Dios in the chat says salute to you. Appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate the support, and we've been chopping it up for the Knicks for the past 45 minutes. We do this every Sunday at 9 p.m. We started at 9:30, a little late today, but just chopping it up, talking Knicks. And look, this 2-game losing streak has, questions have arose, and it's good to go through adversity. I've been saying that adversity is good. You embrace it, you work through it. You can't win every game, right? And look, that was only our second time this season. This Knicks team has lost 2 straight games in a row, Chris. So they kind of don't, if we lose tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this, against the Magic, that'll be the first time this year that we've lost 3 straight. And then the sky will be falling after that. I don't expect that to happen, though. I don't. Cat is questionable. If you're just joining us, Cat seems like he avoided a major injury. He will be good to go. He's questionable against the Orlando Magic. And Deuce is still questionable. They're taking it day by day. Hamstrings are tricky. We need Deuce off that bench. Defense is valued. And Orlando's has a boatload of injuries, right? So, look, Chris, Orlando coming up on the docket. And what do you expect against the Orlando Magic? You expect this Knicks team to bounce back? Because that's what I thought against the Bulls. And they
I do. I think so. I think they're going to bounce back. Obviously, like you mentioned, the Knicks usually don't lose games back to back like that, like we did with the Bulls. So I'm expecting them to come out ready to go and just take it to the Orlando Magic and win that game. Whether that's with Karl Anthony Towns or without Karl Anthony Towns. Obviously Orlando plays a tough brand of basketball, but I think the Knicks come away with that win.
Been having camera issues all night long. Those of you just joining the chat, I'll be back up in 5 minutes. But somebody said, my camera's on the bench right now. We're taking a rest. But appreciate you guys rocking with us. Paolo Banchero, don't know if he's back. That's something to watch. So that's going to be, something to watch. But, yeah, you got the Magic. You got the Raptors again. Man, this schedule, man. So that's the 50th time playing the Magic. The 50th time playing the Raptors. And then you got the Thunder on Friday. Right? So
can't wait for that game on Friday.
Yeah. You got to go at least 2-1 this week, right? 2-1. Get some revenge against the Thunder because they're the hottest team in the NBA. Number 1 defense in the NBA. So you need some revenge. That's a game where that'll ease a lot of minds, man. If we come out and get some revenge in that game, Chris, we got to, man.
Well, I mean, that was the funny thing about the OKC game, man. Like I said, I felt like that was one of the better or the best basketball game played this season.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I'm not even upset at this loss. The turnovers were annoying, things like that. But again, a couple of those mistakes get cleaned up and we come away with that victory. So I'm excited for the OKC game this Friday.
Excited as well. Those of you who can't see me, I am here. I am here, by the way. You're not going crazy. I'm still in the room with Chris. My camera's just, acting up tonight, but appreciate you guys rocking with us. Mike in the chat. What's going on, Mike? I think we're always in good shape, but it's just Thibs needs to change because we all know he's not going anywhere, at least right now. But you got to change. You got to adapt, right?
Yeah.
Got to adapt. Man, the consistency. The thing is, if we would have seen consistent minutes from Kolek and or Daddier and or Huck, we would know if it's, a good sample size.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we haven't seen it.
That's the problem.
They only play when someone's hurt, right?
And even at times when somebody's hurt, they don't play.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, like you mentioned, Deuce McBride has been out, and we saw Tyler Kolek. I think it was the Jazz game for like a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But look, I want to see them too. I want to. That's one of the changes I want Tibbs, to make. Play these young guys, see what you got, and at the very least, even if it's bad, and you can't run them out there for 10 minutes, let's say, at the very least, they can give you 5 minutes, 3 minutes, even. But you got to figure out what you got.
I like this comment in the chat. Definitely bounce back. I'm not too concerned about the Chicago game. It was a back-to-back after a tough game at OKC. We look gas. Can't wait until OKC Part 2 on Friday. Yeah, the thing is, you don't want these habits to carry over, right? You don't. They've been playing so well. You kind of got punched in the mouth, caught with an uppercut these past couple of games. Reality check, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've been preaching, like, it's good to, get those reality checks. But the thing is, if the habits carry over, you lose to the Magic, who are out their whole team, then a lot of Knicks fans will say, look, see, told you so. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Knicks will take care of business these next 2 games. I do. Magic and Raptors. I think they got to.
Yeah. I think we always play pretty good against the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Magic kind of concerns me just because of how, I don't want to say reckless, but they do play very tough. And, it becomes a war out there with them. So hopefully we come out of that game unscathed. And if Cat plays, hopefully, nothing further happens to him, because that Orlando game is going to be tough and physical.
It will. All right. So gone through a lot tonight. NBA All-Star voting is open. Vote for your Knicks. Newsflash, vote for your Knicks. Hold on, let me get myself back on the screen. Just wanted to touch on this really quick, Chris. So, let me bring it up. All right, so Karl-Anthony Towns, last season, he had 139,000 votes at this mark. Obviously, he's playing extremely better this season, and he jumped up to 1 million votes already. Mr. Jalen Brunson, Chris. I was listening to the Windhorse podcast. He said he felt heartfelt or something along those lines that Paolo Banchero had more votes than Jalen Brunson. Paolo Banchero has been hurt for the entire year. Yeah. So, Brunson always just seems like he doesn't get the fan love. At least he needs more votes. He does. Dame has always beat him. I think LaMelo Ball is number 1 currently in voting. That's because, the big baller brand and whatnot. Do people secretly hate Jalen Brunson, Chris?
I don't know. I it's kind of mind-boggling that he's not getting the votes. He's just not getting the votes for whatever reason. Look, I'm voting for Jalen Brunson. I'm voting for Karl-Anthony Towns.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Especially when, like you mentioned, Banchero has more votes and barely has played this season. That doesn't make sense to me. So, look, Knicks Nation has to get out there. Vote for Jalen Brunson. I mean, I think he deserves it.
But why do you think that? Is he not marketable? Flashy stuff?
I don't think it's that.
You don't think it's that? Because I've heard that argument.
I don't think
he's not marketable. He doesn't. He's not flashy. Tony says in the chat he's not a social media guy. He doesn't come into NBA arenas dressed like a penguin, dressed like a freaking flamingo. I was joking on Twitter. Maybe he has to start dressing like that. Maybe he has to come in with some crazy stuff on, get the young vote. And maybe that's how you garner more votes in today's NBA. So, I don't know.
It could be that. It could be that. But I just think when it comes to Jalen Brunson, that's not his style, right? But I don't know, man. Could it be something like a lot of the stigma with Jalen Brunson is that he's a foul hunter, things like that. Maybe people don't like his game. But then on the flip side, I look at Trae Young, and I think he has plenty of votes at this time. So I don't know. It's tough to say.
The thing is, Cat, the argument would be like, okay, Cat is more, he has a lot of followers on IG. He's a fan favorite. Jalen Brunson is also a fan favorite. But why the jump in Cat's votes? I know he's playing dominant this year, but Jalen Brunson is also comparably having a great season. And he should be a starter. And this is not just me being a homer, but he should be an all-star. So he should start over Dame. LaMelo Ball, a losing record. The Hornets, they stink. They're terrible. And he's leading the votes. I know it counts to like 50%, so he already has an edge over being a starter. The rest are players and coaches.
Yeah.
But I honestly think, Chris, look, Knicks fans, we love him. I love him. Got a bobblehead of him. You got a bobblehead of him. Got his poster right here. I vote for Jalen Brunson. We all vote for Jalen Brunson. I honestly think a lot of Knicks fans secretly don't like him. I do. I do.
That's just hard for me to believe, man.
I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. I don't like it. I hate it, but
I don't know. I still think this fan base needs to step up, vote for Jalen Brunson. I mean, look, I think he has what do you have? Like 400,000, something like that. It was something ridiculously low,
yeah.
But you're telling me, like you mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns has that many votes and Jalen Brunson cannot get close to that. Something doesn't add up there. Whether you want to say he's not flashy or he's just not, shooting the ball from half court and doing all those type of things, fine. But, I think New York should be representing a lot more and getting those votes up.
They should be. So the guards right now, let me pull it up on the screen so you guys can see it. So Cat right now, 1.1 million votes, almost 1.1 million votes. Last year at this time, he only had 139,000 votes. So Knicks fans are voting, but it's just more than Knicks fans. Tony says Brunson is loved. Ant, you bugging. I know Brunson. I love Brunson. But I'm just trying to figure out why he has such a,
I think
says ain't nobody outside this city likes Jalen Brunson. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say right above that, Rover also said, I think we collectively just don't care enough to vote. That 400K is probably us alone. I think that's part of it too, I think that's part of it too. But hey, we got to get him in the All-Star game, man. Jalen Brunson is an All-Star.
Yeah, so here's the votes. Let me put it on my screen really quick. I know you guys have probably seen this graphic already, but this is the first returns. LaMelo Ball is at 947,000 votes. Brunson, 477,000 votes. Dame has more. Donovan Mitchell has more as well. So, hey, just go out and vote. Just go out and vote. Vote. I know, I think it only accounts for 50% in terms of the starters, but right now, in my opinion, Jalen Brunson should be an all-star starter. And, yeah, just vote. So you don't like my theory? I don't like it either.
I find it hard to believe, but that'd be a shock to me, man.
Yeah.
I feel like Jalen Brunson's a likable dude, man. I mean, I'm sure everybody listens to the pod. He's a funny dude.
He is. He is a funny dude, and we love him. So go out and vote, but I think he really needs to start coming into Madison Square Garden dressed like a chicken, man. Just throw on some crazy stuff.
Some bright colors, right?
That'll get the young votes, because that's what they like. That's what they like, man. They start hitting half court shots. That's what they like, So
Hey, I don't know, man. I'll take
Mike
a
says,
champion.
I never bought a Knicks jersey until Jalen Brunson, and I've been watching the Knicks since 1999 because I see something different in him from every guard we've had since then. Wow, yeah, I got a Jalen Brunson jersey too. He changed everything, right?
Yeah.
He's beloved, and it's honestly, we've seen the disrespect from him in the media. He's not a 1A. He's too small. Just little jabs here and there, and the votes. They're not where they should be, but I hate it. I do, because I just do. There's nothing we can do about it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the least, I think Jalen Brunson will use it as fuel, to have a crazy second half.
I'm in Toronto. All of my friends are voting for Brunson and Cat. Coach here says facts is the first time I voted ever, and only because we got Cat, but I voted all 5 Knicks. Yes. Let's go, man. Let's go. And then we have a comment saying, does Brunson ever win big games from Knicks 100 GM? Yes, he does.
Yes.
Playoffs, man. Turns
Go
into a
back to
different
that
animal.
Philly series, right?
Different animal in the playoffs, man. Different animal. All right. Let's take a look at the updated poll. So we open up this pod. 96 votes tonight. Do the Knicks, as presently constituted, have enough to compete with the OKC's, Boston's, or the NBA? We have, yes, they have enough at 11%. No, they need more bench depth at 49%. Not with this coach at 19%. Let's wait until Mitch is back at 21%. So, no, they have more bench depth is winning that poll at 49%. Appreciate you guys for voting in the poll. So, yeah, Chris, it's just fans have spoken. They need more bench depth.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the bench is obviously, the big topic tonight. And I agree. Whether that's an addition, however the Knicks front office can make that happen, whether that's, Mitch coming back, alleviating some of that as well. We'll see how things play out. I mean, man, would you love to have like an Alec Burks back on this Knicks squad? I think it would help.
I need more of a 3-and-wing off the bench. More of a guy that can hit threes. I need more of that. The hot name right now is Butler, who's been in trade rumors and outside of Miami.
Though,
No,
right?
I'm just saying, that's could be a domino to watch in terms of like other dominoes falling after that. So it's got to work through it. But Tom Thibodeau, please give someone, Tyler Kolek, Huck Porty, Daddy A. All these guys have been playing well in the G League. So we want to see them play consistently with the New York Knicks, with the big league club, with the squad. And you don't know until you play them consistently. That's all I got to say. And hopefully that he can do it.
I agree. Hell, throw Jericho Sims out there for a few more minutes, right?
Tyler Kolek, 30 minutes against the Magic?
In your dreams.
25 minutes off the bench, 10 dimes against
Be
the Magic?
Be lucky to get 5.
5 dimes or 5 minutes?
Minutes.
Man, Tyler Kolek will average double digits in assists 1 year in his career. All right, guys, this was fun. Appreciate every single one of you joining us tonight on the Knicks Nation podcast. No trivia tonight. I know you guys were waiting for that, but it will be back next week. Sorry. Womp, 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 womp. But subscribe if you haven't done so already. Smash the like button. Appreciate every single one of you. As always, it is Let's Go Knicks. Let's go get them. Orlando, you're next on the docket. I'm Anthony from Knicks Nation.
I'm Chris.
Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.